2022 was so good for content, my top 10 list has 17 things on it. I know it seems like everyone has the exact same list, but I can guarantee mine's going to be a little bit different. Partly because I'm including both movies and TV shows, because TV was unreal last year, I couldn't leave it out, but also because I bounce around genres a bit, so this is going to be all over the place. Also, before we start, note that the order is arbitrary. Clearly it was hard enough picking only 10, I couldn't even do that, let alone ranking them, so don't get too hung up on the order. Also, I live in a country that gets movies late, so if I haven't included your favorite late year banger, let me know down below. I probably haven't seen it. Let's make the comment section a fun place to suggest stuff to each other. Got it? Alright, let's get started. Number 17, Andor. I wasn't expecting to have anything Star Wars on the list because the screenplays for Boba Fett and Obi-Wan were so bad, but this forced its way on late in the year. Simplistic storytelling, grounded characters, and some A+ acting from Stellan Skarsgård and Diego Luna. Someone finally worked out that we don't want flying toasters, we want the gritty realism and seemingly infinite potential of the Star Wars universe. So they made that the main character. And I'm not saying that Sith Lords fighting Jedi can't be fun, but this was a brilliant example of humanizing the franchise with relatable and vulnerable main characters and settings. Even little details like showing us this guy ringing the town bell helps construct an immersive world that elevates the whole show. And the often derided description of Star Wars as a space opera, well, this is that done well with probably the best written screenplay I've seen from a Star Wars property. Number 16, Nope. It's still my least favorite of his films, but the way Peele delivers subliminal messages while messing with genres is so entertaining. Sometimes a comedy, sometimes a horror, sometimes a sci-fi. The movie's designed to reflect the worst of humanity. Explicitly, our obsession with trying to monetize horrific events, and the commentary on spectacle will be fascinating to revisit as the way we consume content continues to evolve. Number 15, Winning Time. Worth watching for the dynamic editing alone, Winning Time got ripped for being factually inaccurate and at times downright defamatory to members of the Lakers. But the fact that they lent into creating something so over the top and silly is what makes this so damn entertaining. John C. Reilly puts in a wild performance as Dr. Buss, everyone's a caricature, there are fourth wall breaks, it's just beautifully organized chaos and really well produced. If you like basketball, you'll appreciate the zany fun. 14, Matilda. Bet you weren't expecting a musical, hey, but this was simply the best family movie I watched all year. Incredible choreography on the large ensemble numbers, really sweet, and a killer lead performance by Alicia Weir. If you like musicals and are a fan of the original Matilda movie, this'll hit that nostalgic sweet spot. 13, The Northman. There were two ways this movie could have gone. One was a bloodthirsty action movie where Alexander Skarsgård rips through his enemies. The other was a more holistic look at the Norse culture and beliefs. Eggers chose the latter, and I loved it. Of course, a good historical fight scene is fun too, but Viking mythology is so interesting that it was fascinating to experience Eggers' immersive and spooky take on the culture. Some people thought this was way too long, but I enjoyed the journey throughout. It was anchored by some beautiful cinematography, huge sets that they constructed of Viking villages, and a talented cast, and it just felt like something from the mid-2000s, and that was refreshing. Number 12, Euphoria Season 2. I don't care that people think it's too unrealistic or that it's glorifying drug use. I also don't care that the writing is getting worse, and Sam Levinson keeps forgetting the motivations for his characters. As long as the show looks this good, the cold opens keep being this engaging, and Levinson keeps taking risks with the surrealist cutaways and pop culture references, I'll keep watching it. There's a growing list of detractors from the show, and everyone keeps hating it, but each episode is so incredibly unique and different from the last, and despite the plot holes, I actually think the characterization in the show is pretty damn good. 11, Decision to Leave. A quirky murder mystery romance by the twist king Park Chan-wook, this harks back to exciting neo-noir thrillers with a brilliant femme fatale and some fun double crosses. I know that some people don't love foreign films, subtitles, yada yada yada, but this is so dense with themes and subtextual gems that I spent 3 hours in the pub afterwards discussing the ending. And the cinematography is so casually brilliant that Chan-wook leaves little hints and clues in the beautiful set pieces to help you solve the case. It's fun, and it's also low-key really funny, so if you like doing some mental gymnastics and dissecting the meaning behind movies, you'll likely enjoy this. Number 10, House of the Dragon. I've already made a whole video on this, but I was amazed at how quickly I fell back in love with Westeros. And that's from someone who hasn't read the books and kind of forgot this was coming out at all. The visuals are obviously impressive with the big fuck-off dragons, but it was more the politics and backroom conniving that drew me back in. As George R.R. Martin says, morally grey characters who can't be definitively labelled as good or bad are the key to a good story, and this is filled with them. For instance, Daemon is first presented as a villain, but then Otto and Alicent start scheming, Kristen Cole turns from protector to vengeful thug, Rhaenyra chooses personal joy over the stability of the kingdom, everyone becomes an incredibly complex character. And thanks to that constant development, I thought the time jump worked really well, and I was left completely flummoxed at the end of the season. Who do I root for? What do I want to happen? No matter what, I'm invested and incredibly excited excited for a second season, and I didn't think I would be saying that about a Game of Thrones property. 9. Triangle of Sadness. Remove an individual's wealth and status, and how much worth do they bring to society? That's the question this wickedly funny drown the rich comedy looks to explore, but it's not as simple as just lampooning ignorant posh wankers. There are a lot of shit rich people, of course, with the movie centered around a young influencer couple who decide to fix their relationship aboard a luxury yacht. But there's also the tip-hungry cabin crew and subsurface cleaners, with Ruben Östlund using the ship's bizarre ecosystem to reflect the state of the world. But he's also not being overly pushy or trying to lecture the audience. He just chucks it up on the screen and lets you make up your own mind as crazy stuff unfolds, which is both unsettling and refreshing. And this movie does not go the way you think it will. Probably the craziest third act of the year. Everyone go and watch it. Don't watch a trailer, just check this movie out. Number 8, Barry Season 3. I somehow still haven't made a video about Barry, but my god, what a show. Probably one of my favorite ever. What started off as a dark comedy about a hitman who wants to become an actor has now evolved so many times that I don't even know what genre this is. Tragedy, horror, action. I won't spoil anything, but the magic of this series clearly stems from Bill Hader's obsession with cinema. He just wants to try as many things as possible, oscillating between scenes of someone suffering from PTSD to flat-out action sequences to something like an SNL skit. It's touching and intense and funny all at the same time, with some of the best writing of the year. Number 7, Everything Everywhere All at Once. So I rewatched this the other day and I was trying to work out what I could say that hasn't been said already. And here it is. This deserves all the plaudits in the world for the performances, the originality, the editing, the insanely intricate web of metatextual commentary. But I think it's also one of the best paced movies I've ever seen. The first act is really dynamic and snappy as Evelyn struggles to understand the multiverse and laments what could have been, but once she begins to appreciate the life she's created, the Daniels slow it all down, culminating in that funny rock scene. And it's this total command of the pacing that I think helped me connect with the characters along their journey, not just Evelyn, but Waymond and Joy as well, which is an astonishing feat for such a deeply complex text. Maybe I'm ranking it a bit low at number 7. If we were ranking purely based on originality, this would be number 1, but it's still one of the best films of the year. The Worst Person in the World. I know this technically came out at festivals in 2021, but I haven't connected with the movie on such a personal level in a long time, so I'm counting it anyway. Following Yulia, a late 20s professional who can't decide what she wants to do with her life, this explores the imposter syndrome a lot of people can feel while transitioning from youth to adulthood. The pressure to find a soulmate, settle down, and start taking everything so much more seriously. It's a really beautiful portrait of society's obsession with adulthood and the anxiety that comes with that. And as a 28-year-old who just had a bit of a quarter-life crisis, quit my job, and hates the idea of growing up, this got me right in the feels. Actually, similar to Everything Everywhere All at Once, the film highlights the sacrifices we have to make in pursuit of our passions and the pain that comes from thinking about the what-ifs. This will be different for everyone, but to me, it was brilliant. Number 5, The White Lotus Season 2. The word escapism gets thrown around a lot for movies and TV shows, but not often for dramas, which makes sense, right? How immersive can a drama be? Well, The White Lotus teleports you to a delightfully uncomfortable holiday full of brilliant views and awful hotel guests. And it is so much fun. Similar to Triangle of Sadness, it's a commentary on wealth, status, and the pursuit of happiness, with the miserable millionaires complaining about trivial inconveniences while the hotel staff go absolutely mad. Which is entertaining enough by itself, but Mike White also adds the hook of a murder mystery. One of the hotel guests will die at the end of the week, so we have to watch each conversation looking for motives and opportunities. Which is such a hilarious meta element to the show, because this amateur detective work makes you as anxious and on edge as the stupid characters. Like, there were so many times that my girlfriend and I would turn to each other and say, "Would you kill me for that?" For the stupidest things. At this level of fun, it's some great acting, writing, and editing, and you're left with a killer social satire. I hope this show never ends. Number 4, The Banshees of Inisherin. If you've watched any of Martin McDonagh's other works, particularly In Bruges and Seven Psychopaths, you'd know he's got a knack for adding levity to moments of vulnerability and pain. It'd be easy to classify this as dark humor, but I think his movies are actually sadder than most comedies. He gets right at the heart of mental health issues, with his characters wrestling with the insecurities that come from guilt and depression. Therefore, it's a bit of a paradox that Banshees is probably his saddest, but also his funniest film. There's a lot to praise. The performances, themes, cinematography, all great, but I think it's the simplicity that makes this special. Set on a small island off the coast of Ireland in 1923, the movie follows a man who's recently been dumped by his best friend for being too dull. That's it. That's the story. But this bare-bones narrative lets McDonagh explore the human need for connection, love, friendship, and self-worth by honing in on just a few relationships. And ironically, it's the dim-witted optimism of the main character that feels like the most logical thing in the film. At one stage, the friend espouses the importance of achieving achieving a timeless legacy like Mozart, to which the idiot responds, "You know what else is timeless? Niceness." It's equal parts gut-wrenching and funny, and leads to one of the best movies of the year. You should definitely go and check this out. Number 3, Top Gun Maverick. Outrageous cinematography from both inside and outside the jets, a killer score, charisma from not only Tom Cruise, but the rest of the cast. This is one of the best sequels ever made. Full stop. Easily the blockbuster of the year, Joseph Kosinski nailed the balance of action and cheesy dialogue in something that was blissfully unconcerned with taking itself too seriously. The enemy was anonymous, there's a cheesy beach scene, some cheeky one-liners. It was clearly happy to just lean on the silliness of the first movie and up the ante with better production quality. And I know there's a lot of people who said this was great because there was no agenda and no real meaning, but I'll respectfully disagree with that point. By focusing on the best of the best and Maverick being a cheeky rebel who only gets forgiven once he saves the day, the movie is an allegory for the celebration of perfection. Reflective of real life, we wonder at people who are the absolute best at something. That's why events like the Olympics exist, and it's a pretty common expectation to aim for this level of perfection. My point being, Top Gun Maverick and similar action movies are so much fun because we like watching impossibly perfect people beating the odds in ridiculous situations. It's human nature. Is it unrealistic and stupid at times? Sure, but sometimes it's good to just sit back and watch the good guy win. And Top Gun Maverick was the best possible version of that. Number 2, Cha Cha Real Smooth. I fell in love with this as soon as I saw it. A micro-budget rom-com about an aimless early 20s doofus who meets a young mum played by Dakota Johnson. This was another one that felt like it was made for me. Not that I've fallen in love with any young mums recently, but similar to Worst Person in the World, it touches on the transition to adulthood and specifically the process of working out what love is. And whilst writer-director Cooper Raiff stars as the stereotypical charming and witty rom-com protagonist who always knows what to say, the movie also emphasizes that life doesn't always work out, with plenty of crushed dreams and broken hearts. Raiff and Johnson are dynamite together with some of the best rom-com chemistry I've seen in a while, and from a streamlined movie-making standpoint, this was the one film I watched all year that felt like the perfect length. No wasted scenes, the perfect mix of drama, comedy, and romance. Raiff is going to be a big deal in the future, and I loved that this felt like an old-fashioned rom-com. Number 1, The Bear. You know when you go to a restaurant and order something off the specials menu as a complete gamble and it's absolutely phenomenal? Well, that's The Bear. This came out of nowhere, it's the best show of the year, and I somehow haven't talked about it in a single video yet. Centered around a young chef who returns from the world of fine dining to run his family's sandwich shop when his brother dies, this is a very heavy show. It's tense and uncomfortable and stressful, with the showrunners dragging us into the chaotic world of kitchen service through some brilliant filming and editing. I mean, there's one 20-minute episode filmed in a single take, which is a mind-blowing feat anyway by the camera operators, the actors, the director, everyone, but in other episodes they shift between lingering shots to quick cuts to emphasize the tense environment. It is incredibly well done to manipulate your emotions and to build characters up. The result is a touching and funny and entertaining show that truly immerses the viewer in the little sandwich shop, the culinary world, and Chicago at large. I mean, I've been to Chicago before, but I don't understand the intricacies of the city's working class or the food culture. This show, the characterization and the relationships between the staff help teach you a little bit about it and invite you in. The best way I can put it, it's a show about people disguised in a show about food. It's incredibly raw and personal, and Jeremy Allen White better win the Emmy. Absolutely brilliant as Kami. Anyway, that's my favorite stuff from 2022. Let me know what your faves were down below, and I will see you in the next one. Happy New Year, everyone. Alright, peace.